My father was always, we thought he was funny, but he was so stern in the
He had
way.
that, and that's why we connected so well, because my dad too got that, like, I'll cut you in two
Right.
seconds, but I'm also funny.
Right.
You know what I'm
You're listening to My Father Used to Say, live with Lady Bose.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Lady Bose, and we're back with another episode of My Father Used to Say. As you can see, I have a beautiful young lady, and she's not just a young lady, she's a woman. Also, a beautiful and dear sister friend of mine. We actually were neighbors back in the day, right? We were high school neighbors. I mean, man, childhood friends. We used to walk around and just get lost in the neighborhood, okay? But I have Mrs. Keisha Howell Davis. And what I love about Mrs. Davis, because she a Mrs., she ain't playing games, okay? All right, she's always had a poise about her, and that's one of my favorite words, poised, honey, because ladies, we operate with elegance, okay? All right, but what I love about her is that she carries herself well, and that she loves to have a good laugh and have a good time. And I can't wait for you guys to hear about all the wonderful things that she has accomplished in her life. Me knowing her as a dear sister, I can say that I'm very proud of her. You look good, honey.
Thank you.
Honey child, let me
Thank
tell you.
you.
Look, and she brought my Jeep. Okay, when she came to the studio, she brought my Jeep. Okay, that Jeep looks so good. So, but yes, talk to us about your childhood memories, some of the best moments in your life. I really want us to open the floor and just play catch up as girlfriends.
One of the best memories I have as a child, I don't know, it's a lot. Very much family oriented. So we had our gatherings, with all of
I
our
remember that.
my aunts, cousins, every holiday, even if it wasn't a holiday, just to come by and chill. If my father wanted to cook on the grill, we called everybody over.
That's right.
So just the camaraderie of having everyone together was probably the best things I used to enjoy.
Yeah. And in that, I would say I came along in the high school years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We lived, where was that area we lived
We
in? I
lived in
forgot.
Stone Mountain, Georgia, in
Yeah.
Main Street subdivision.
Main Street
Yeah.
subdivision, girl. That spot was popping back there, girl. And it was so funny because you would call me and say, you want to walk the neighborhood? And I'd be like, if my daddy would let me. And you'd be like, don't worry, I'm going to have my dad call your daddy. He going to be fine, But I just remember how carefree you were. Can you share with me where that came from? Because I know that when you have family and you're able to have that freedom in your family, that comes from a place that they also were raised in. So can you talk a little bit about just maybe where that carefreeness came from?
It's definitely instilled as a young child. I mean, when I was younger, I guess, we had discipline in the house. We were very much disciplined.
Yeah.
But my parents were able to let us, get into, or allow us to get into what we wanted to or what we enjoyed.
I remember that too. Yes.
So, and I enjoyed, even as a young child, going outside playing. I was very adventurous and going outside.
Trust me.
I would want to go, and I was like as a young child, I was like a tomboy. In a way that I would go, the creek behind the house or down the street, I would go and find turtles and, try
and
to
I'd be
play.
praying over you like, that is wrong. There's too much dirt for one child, And I remember all that. Yes, go ahead.
They enjoy. I mean, I was able to do that. And I guess the trust, too, because like I said, we were disciplined, so we knew not to do nothing crazy that, to disrespect our deceive my parents or whatnot. So, they could trust me to be out there. I could play with my friends as long as I was back before dark, or
right. The time frame.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's where the carefreeness started, to let me go out and be adventurous and develop and learn. And be around friends that I enjoyed or went to school with and stuff. So that's where it started. But even going into our high school years, that's the age where you're really trying to develop and learn yourself.
Yeah,
in a way.
True. That's true.
So gathering that and utilizing, my parents always told me not to be disrespectful, treat people like you wanted to be treated. And I always wanted to be loved and treated respectfully.
I remember that.
I do that too. I try to instill that even when I'm giving towards other people. So I think with that, it always built in my personality to just be carefree and loving.
Yeah. So. Treat people like you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Do you think that the relationship that your mother and father had, also played into that carefreeness? Because some of the memories that I have, the sweet memories of Mama and Papa, was that they loved joking around, and so they were looking for me during Thanksgiving, and it's amazing because this is the day after Thanksgiving. Right. So what a beautiful memory to have to bring that back and just talk about it. But do you think that not only in the discipline, but just in what you saw in them, like how did they date each other, love each other?
That was definitely eye-catching because you look at the factor of they were the example of what I would want, my marriage, or how my marriage to be, or how I would want to raise my children. So looking at their interactions, and no couple's perfect, so you have arguments and stuff, but even with that happening, I will always see them come back together, bring it back in. And so that showed me resilience, were they able to bounce back in, and and transparency.
Wow.
And so with that, I learned from them. And of course, my father was always, we thought he was funny, but he was so stern.
He had that, and that's why we connected so well, because my dad too got that, like, I'll cut you in 2 seconds, but I'm also funny.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. Like, should I laugh right now?
Right.
Because I remember that's what we used to do too. It was like,
right.
It's funny. Oh, right. Okay, thank God we could laugh. It was literally like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He was funny without knowing he was funny, and it was just things he would joke of, or not even joke. He's really telling us his life story, but it would be funny to us because we're like
who does that?
For instance, the recorder that the music teachers give you in school, in elementary school or whatnot. I brought one home, and my father would say, I had that when I grew up, back in the 40s, 50s, and that we call that a flutophone.
Flutophone.
I'm like, what? A flutophone?
Yeah.
And he was serious, but we're cracking up. He's like, why y'all laughing? It's a flutophone. I'm like, no, it's not. So those little those examples were things that will go around in our house. Even my mom joking with them, and everyone, we always would joke, even to this day. They know when we come in, I'm going to joke on mama, or mom's going to joke on me. We joke on dad. So it's just, we had that good sense of humor built up as well. So they just gave us an all around 360 of a visual of what you would probably want, what family is, and the dynamic of it, and how to build with it.
I loved coming over. And guess what? Mama was wondering why I wasn't eating. Get a plate. And I used to be like, this is the sweetest Kool-Aid in the world. How do you make this? And Keisha would like, step aside. Let me show you how it's done. Okay? I had never seen that much sugar. But hey, I was drinking it only at their house, because my parents would look at me with 10 heads. Okay? I love coming over because also I do remember um, just going to mama and dad's room and sitting on the bed with
Yeah.
them, and they literally was like, both say, tell us the next story, and tell us the next story. And we were all laughing. Brittany was like half dead on the floor. Brittany is
My
Keisha's
sister.
little sister, and we love you, Brittany, because we know you watching with the kids. Okay, I'm gonna bring you one day when you got them on, babysitting duty, because we gotta have quiet on the set, right? But yeah, and I just remember that, and so much joy. And when I thought about people that I wanted to interview that now are super successful, have families, or even if they're working on families, whatever it was, when I was just thinking about who to interview that would be able to share with me like their foundation and how their also their love of their family or even lack of, when I was just thinking about that, your name popped up fast because, and I think I asked you weeks prior to, recently too, but it popped up because I remember, because I was in it, and I remember that your father did leave a lot of lasting impressions even with me. And I remember he would look at me, he'd be like, "Well, say," and obviously, actually, I was called Mary. That's something y'all don't know about, but I was called Mary in high school days just because I wasn't really accepting of my name. Yeah, it was hard because people would jack it up. So I was just like, just call me Mary, So he'd be like, "Mary, you listening to what your dad telling you? I know he tough on you, but he gonna be all right. When it gets too much, you come on over here and you tell us some more stories and stuff, And he was just so loving in a very stern way, like that right there. That I feel like society nowadays they don't understand it. And I think that it's the lack thereof of having fathers in this day and age, in this culture, because some aren't sticking around, some are imprisoned, some are not even knowing their fathers because the women are keeping it from them. So, it's not all men's fault, but whatever the case may be, these children don't have a foundation. And that foundation that I'm speaking of, that's why this podcast is really dear to me, is fathers, and like the importance of instilling a male figure in a child's life while they're coming up. I really want people to understand how you've become successful through that, because some people will say, well, here's the game plan that I used to become successful. Here's the business plan. Here's the method of education I took.
That works too.
That works as well. But right. And that's why we're here, because these successful people like you who have come a long way, we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
It's a lot. So, it's a lot. But I think that it's important that people hear your story, because we lost touch when I went to college. Yeah. But I was so glad when I found you on Facebook again. I missed a large or huge part of your life, and you were still it was so, and it was in such a very broken part in my life, but I was just still trying to be happy. And I don't know if you know how much this meant to me. I'm gonna try not to cry and say this, but oh God, look, you got the tissue. You might need to pass me one. Ooh, pass me one. Just pass me one, okay? But I just remember it was a very hard time in my life, and you bought clothes for Sade. You remember that?
Yeah.
Ooh, that was very important to me. Because I didn't have much, and I left the marriage without much. And I wanted her to be loved, and you went. I know I'm trying. But
that's right eye keeps leaking.
This flashlight thing situation. Woo. I was in a flight and fight mode, and I was very misunderstood by a lot of people. But I want people to know how much what you're about to talk about and who you are. One of the reasons is because you were raised well. You were raised well, and you had such a big heart. Like, and don't get it twisted. She not just tall. Like, her heart is taller. Okay, tell them how tall you are, sis.
6'2".
Amen. And guess what? On top of that, let me get these tears out my eyes. But on top of that, how about she had the nerve to want to wear heels in high school? She loved them things. I'd be like, you want to get any taller today? I mean, I was trying to hug you.
And
you know,
I still wear them.
Yes, she wears them proudly. Okay. What did you feel in that time? Because I know in that time you were still married, freshly married,
yeah.
right? And I think that was around 2013. Mm-hmm. So talk to me. Yeah, it was. You had 4 years ish. Mm-hmm. So 2013 was when that time happened, when we reconnected. Talk to me about the years that I missed, because I left in '99. Yeah, and I know it's a lot, but
but no, that was the learning aspect of becoming Keisha, I guess you could say, because you were in the class of '99. I was class of 2000. Mm-hmm. So as you left, I was leaving the year after.
Okay.
To go to college, and I went to Albany State University. But going into college, you know, trying to find myself, it took a lot. You know, you're coming in straight out of high school into college, trying to learn. I'm in a new city area in Doherty County, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, Southwest Georgia. Right. It's about 2 hours away from here.
Right.
And not knowing the area, not knowing the school or anybody, though I had to learn myself. So with that, I would try to, you know, of course I gained friends. I gained a lot of best friends during that time. But even still, it's still trying to develop. You know, you go to college, you're trying to find a career to get into. So what kind of career base do you want? What do you want to do for the lifelong end? Yeah. So I'm thinking about all that.
Let me interject and say, while you're thinking about all that and you're making the transitions, were there any things that your father instilled in you through that time?
Oh, definitely. Like number one, it was a school. Yeah. I didn't choose his school. He chose it for me. Okay. Those things, even still, my father was big on education. Yeah. Very big on education. It was either I go to college, go to the military, or get a job. But if I get a job, I had to move out. Like, that was my dad's top three things. So he instilled education into us since birth almost. Right. So going into that, he didn't want me to go far because I wanted to go out of state, but he wanted me to stay somewhat close, further enough to be on my own, but close enough to where he could get to me.
Father's love.
Right. Even when I struggled while I was in school, you know, he would kind of reiterate the importance of why I'm there. Right. And so those transitions kind of guided me. And of course, through college, I think the biggest outcome was when my father passed away my senior year of college. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
Why? It's 2005. It shouldn't be this hard, but
it's okay.
Even when he passed away, I think that kind of built me into thinking, developing a mindset that I have to do what he wanted me to do, and what he instilled in me to do. And that was, I have to finish college, because at that point when he passed, I was really about to give up.
I think you shared that with me.
I was really, it's my senior year of college, and I'm like, my dad's not here. What am I doing this for? Yeah, what's the point? Because I felt like I was trying to, in the beginning, I felt like I was trying to please him to finish college because he wanted it so bad. I wanted it too, but he really wanted to see me do it. Yeah. And when he passed, I was just like, it felt like the urge to do it kind of faded for a second. Yeah. But it's kind of like that awakening moment that clicked, and it's like I had a dream one day, and it's like he came in my dreams like, you're gonna finish the job. you're gonna do what you
Wow.
were destined to do. And he was like,
Wow.
you didn't come this far to quit.
Yes, sis.
So I had to build my I had to build that strength back to say, okay, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So it was very,
And even then, his spirit came to
yeah,
you.
oh yeah.
You know?
Even the day
Yeah.
he passed, we're at the hospital, and I was in town because he was in the hospital, and you know, we knew he died of a stroke, but we knew that he was in a coma at the time, and we were sleeping, and he came to me in my dream.
Wow.
And you know, all the while, my family from Florida, everyone came in to be around him, but he came to me in my dream, and it was like he told me, he said, "I'm not gonna make it, baby girl, but tell everybody that I love them." He was like, be the rock for the family. They're gonna need you." And
I never knew that.
I didn't know. I woke up like shocked, because I'm like, what? Why is Daddy in my dream? And I said I didn't understand it. So when I woke up, the doctor had just walked in, and he pretty much was breaking the news that we would have to make a decision. And that's when I heard the doctor said, I ran to my mom. I was like, Dad's not going to make it. We gotta we gotta let him go. He's leaving.
Wow.
And my mom was kind of like, no, he's not a doctor.
She wasn't trying to hear that right now.
And so with that, from then on, I felt not only was I, because I'm a true daddy's girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a real daddy's girl, but so not only did I have the connect, I felt this strength and kind of like a embodied spiritual being with him now. And it's more like, okay, yeah, he was my physical strength, but now he's my spiritual strength too.
Come on.
So I embodied that and utilized that even from that day he died to when I had to go back to school and finish up without him. And that's when I had to keep building that strength up to say, no, this is what he wants me to do.
Yeah.
And so that transition from college, where I graduated with my degree.
Yeah.
And
what did you graduate with?
A psychology degree, of all things.
Of all things. Right.
Psychology, degree in psychology. And
did you always wanted to do that?
I did. Because of my childhood, you know, like I said, families aren't perfect, but you know, I endured a childhood trauma at a very, very young age. And so with that trauma, I had to go through counseling and whatnot. And with that, I kind of loved the interaction with the counselor
went. Is this something you told me before?
I probably did, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Is it something you're comfortable talking about now? Or no? It's okay.
I was sexually abused as a child.
Okay.
And
Sorry to hear
that was something that kind of played with me growing up, just like any kind of childhood trauma. Any child that's been through a trauma. Mentally, it could, you know, make them
alter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it never really altered. Once it was, you know, it came out and we were able to move forward. It was still, people think that, okay, well, I put you through counseling.
It should be all right.
You should be good.
Yeah.
No. So that's where the trying times of growing up as a teenager came in, because the low self-esteem, the peer pressure of wanting to fit in because you want to feel accepted. And I had very low self-esteem back then because of that. And I didn't have the confidence I should have.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And maybe you did tell me, but I think this is where love and friendship comes in, because I never saw any fault in you. I looked up to you. Why are you making me cry? Just look at you. I can't even look at you. That's how much I love this girl, okay? I cannot look at her without crying or laughing. So it's either one of the two.
Go cry or laugh.
Yeah, and we've always been that way. We can either cry or laugh. There's nothing else in our connection but love, okay? But You're talking to me. I feel like I'm relearning you
Oh.
because I didn't
Oh, yeah,
know,
a lot of people did. No, they
so
just,
many different things,
yeah,
just even in like self-esteem things. Like I saw you and I was like, Keisha bomb, okay? Keisha got them long legs, you know what I'm saying? She out here, she get her beauty on. Like she'll go out and hang out and I'll be like, I want to hang out too. Cause my dad's strict was on another level, okay? But and maybe that's just the youngness of being a teenager and just seeing people's lives and not seeing fault because you also admire that life,
Right.
and that person too. Like I admire you. I like and I used to even tell myself, man, I wish I could play basketball like that. I don't even know if I bounce it, it's just gonna go all over the place. And she just grabbing the whole ball with her whole palm, like, so, just different little things that I remember about you I thought was super cool. But thank God that he still found ways to cradle you, honestly, because without mom and dad,
Oh yeah,
that could have went
it would have went way, way left. Yeah.
without that
Definitely.
foundation.
Exactly. And I think the protection of my father during that time when it came about, my dad was a true protector. He was a true provider.
Amen.
But he was my security.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that ooh, there it goes.
Yeah,
again.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
That's one thing that when that occurred and
Yeah.
when it came about and
Yeah.
how my dad
Yeah.
protected me in the way of once he found out, he went into protector mode
Beast
and
mode.
beast mode, if you
Yeah.
could say.
Right.
And that kind of showed me that no matter that's the bill that kind of starts the checkpoint of what you want the man in your life to do for you as well.
Girl.
So that started my checkpoint. Like, oh my God, the way my dad stepped in for
Yeah.
me, that's what I want all the time. Even when I get older and married, I want my husband to do that for
To be
me and
stepping
my
in for
child
me.
or
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
So those things are what he continuously. Those are like one of the many checkpoints I
Right.
use to venture out of how I want my future husband at the time, my
Yeah.
future husband to be.
Yeah.
So, but with that, I mean, it was a little tough, but having the foundation with my parents who, even though, and that's the thing, a lot of people say, well, I tell my kid I love them. I tell my daughter, my son, or whatnot, I love them. I tell my daughter she's beautiful every day. But when you go through a trauma like that, it's kind of hard. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, you say that because you're my family. You say that because we're friends or whatnot. But a person has to feel it within. And one thing about trauma is that it could take you out of
Yes.
your shell
Okay.
and have you see your shell is here, your body, but your trauma is sitting on the side, and it's kind of like
Reminding you.
It's a torment in a way. So it's always so that kind of geared me with the degree of wanting to get into my field that I'm in because I wanted to heal other people
Others. Yeah. Yeah.
the same way that I was healed.
Yeah.
So that came into psychology with my degree in psychology. However, instead of being the psychologist and going about the clinical field, I
Right.
went into social work
Okay.
with social services. So kind of like I wanted to be the frontline person to help those kids that went through traumas and wanted to be the person.
First line, like what they call it, first liners or first.
The first line, pretty much we're the first responders.
First responders. Yeah.
Some form of way.
Yeah.
Outside of police or whatnot, but when a child is in, everyone hears the defects, and that's pretty much where my career was with defects. But we were the first responders to child traumas.
Okay.
Okay, so if something happens, we're going to be the first one to show up at the door, the first one to assess it and remove a kid out the situation if that's needed.
Yes.
Or heal the family with services,
interventions and stuff like right.
So that kind of geared with my past that geared me to go in the line of career of my career that I'm in now.
Right, right.
And
How did your parents feel, your father specifically, how did he feel about you wanting to do that, knowing
oh, he was good. And when he laughed when I was younger, this was probably like I was about 8 years old, and he asked me what did I want to be when I grew up, and I was serious at the time. I said I want to be a police officer,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was like, "No, you're not."
Gonna shut you down. Right, right, right.
He was like, "It's too dangerous for you. You're not gonna be a police officer." But
Right.
so when I jumped into when he asked me going into high school what I wanted to go into college doing, and I said, "Well, I think I want to be a psychologist." And he's
Right.
like, "There you go."
Right, right. And I like how he kept asking you to
Oh
see
yeah,
if it fit something that made sense to him and that was going to be good for you,
right,
as
yeah,
opposed to just completely like twisting your
and,
arm and like,
making
you
me
gonna be
right.
a lawyer
No.
is what I said, because that's how Keisha's dad used to talk. Like, he had that strong voice saying, "You know what I'm saying? You gonna eat, Mary?" Yes, pops. Go right now. That's good times, man. Good times.
Yeah, he was happy with that, but when
Mhm.
he asked me the same question of why,
Mhm.
and I went through that whole spiel with him of why I wanted to go in that field, and he said, "You know what? I could see that." He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you go do that." And so that was his push. Every
Right.
time if I did something wrong in class or school, he would come back. He's like, "You think a psychologist know how to? You think a psychology major will, you know, make a
Yeah.
bad grade on their test?" And so
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
"Okay, I get it. All right."
Yeah. Right. Is there something that he would instill in you, or he always used to say to you that was like, man, I say that now, or when I'm doing something with my
Ooh,
family,
I repeat
I
my
repeat.
repeat my same
Yeah,
saying those
yes, them
sayings.
same sayings. Like, my dad always used to be like, I don't care what you do, I just want you to do it to the glory of the Lord.
I remember he was.
You
I
already
remember
know that.
my dad said, "I don't raise no failures. We don't raise failures."
Woo!
And
That is definitely his personality.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
raise no failures, and so I kind of and I think my daughter I'm more of the disciplinarian too in my with my family with my
Okay.
daughter
Mm-hmm.
because my dad was the disciplinarian for me.
Yeah. So you
So
know all the right
oh
things to
yeah,
say.
I like she made a bad grade on a test once, and she didn't want to show me. And when I got on her for one not showing me, and two the fact that she should have studied and did what she was supposed to do,
Right.
I found myself saying, "Well, we don't raise no failures in this house."
Hello.
And then when I said, I'm like, "Oh, there goes Dad."
When you were younger and he would say that, would that upset you?
No, because I knew that why he was saying it, and
Hmm.
that's one thing. I never got in trouble for. I never talked back. I never
Yeah.
went past curfew or did the outside stuff. My troubles came from school, and
Yeah.
in high school,
Friends
and
and
I never got in trouble with hanging with friends. It
okay.
was always
Oh, studying.
the
Okay.
studying and the
Grades.
grades was my issue. Like I would,
Okay.
and my dad, he was like, "I don't know why you just don't, do this and do it right or whatever." He's like, "You want to go to college, you're not gonna make it doing this." And so
Right. Right.
those things, I don't know. And then like when I got to ninth grade or after ninth grade and into 10th grade, it clicked, and I just started making A's and B's all of a sudden. He was like, "Well,
Wow.
man, we went through all this, and now
Right.
you."
Right. That
I got tired of being
part.
on punishment, so it was kind of like it clicked and like, Keisha, get right. Are
Right.
you going
Right.
to keep losing your phone privileges? So
Right.
I'm like, gosh, okay. But it also, yeah, on top of not wanting to be in trouble anymore, but yeah, it's like I do want to make something of myself.
Right.
I
I
do
do want
want
to
to be
become someone.
someone, and I'm not going to do it this way. And
Mm-hmm.
we had examples. I had examples of friends who had already graduate or couldn't graduate, had to leave school or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And looking at all of that, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be a failure.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
let me do what I need to do to move up. and that's what I utilize, of course, with him
Yeah.
in my ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
That helped, but it was more like you have to push yourself too, just kind of like with God. God is your guidance, but you
Right.
have to be able to push yourself under the word. So
Right.
listen to the word, get it, but you have to believe in yourself. You can't just think God is going to just
Help
walk
you.
you.
Like some people say, me and God got an understanding.
Right,
And
right.
you be like, but you're about to go rob a bank.
No, right. Yeah,
How does
that
that
part.
work?
Exactly. So you got to be able to want it, and he'll guide you, he'll show you the path, but you have to walk with, he'll guide you through it, but it's up to you to walk through that path with
Come
him.
on. I love it.
So, with that's kind of like the mechanism that I used all my life. Is like, okay, even in the troubles that I've come across, it's like, okay, I know I shouldn't be doing this, so I need to do better. And it's more like you have to have the ambition and want to do it, and so
Yeah.
that's what helped me. And my dad instilled that with me. We went to church every Sunday.
That's right.
So, hearing the word with at church every Sunday, he instilled the spiritual part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's what guided me. It's like, yeah, I need to do better, but I
Yeah.
have to want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when it kicked in.
Right. Right. Would you also say that because of your father's spiritual, belief, that it made it easier for you to also follow? Because, I mean, let's say he didn't believe in anything, let's say he just was out there. Would it be the same foundational teaching, do you think?
Um, if he never instilled in the spiritual, and I think the spiritual guidance is like you have a physical realm here on earth, and you have the guidance of, yeah, don't do that, do this, do as I say, from your parents, boss, or whatever. But mentally, consciously, is a mental, like, who guides you on the mental end. We weren't
Right.
created just from nothing.
Right.
God puts the brain is a powerful thing, and God utilized, he scientifically put that in together to make sure that you can have a good conscience to know right from wrong.
Right.
And so even then, I use the factor of, yes, my dad was a disciplinarian. He was my guide physically,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a conscience, and I know my conscience wouldn't have been what it is if it wasn't for God.
That's right.
And so bringing the word in, it educates me on why I have this why do you hear that voice in the back of your head that says,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think you should do that.
Right.
Or, yeah, you need to treat them a little better than that. Or you need to make sure, you drive, or you ever get that voice where you're driving past and you see the homeless woman on the corner with her kid, and sometimes people may drive by and they look, and even though they may not stop, I can guarantee you in the back of their head they're hearing something say, "Man, that's sad," or, "Oh, I wish I could do something." Right?
You said a lot right there. You said
So
a whole sermon right there.
So that's that mental that God instills. So I mean, I don't think I think with that, it's kind of a if you don't have the spiritual, and I know I've had friends who didn't grow up in the church, right? But they were able to differentiate right from wrong.
Right.
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 I mean, you have laws and all that stuff you got to follow, but it's almost like the right thing to do.
Right. Right. Your
Some people
spirit does.
exactly.
Yeah.
Some people choose to ignore it, so that's why you have the violence in the world today.
Yes.
Some people choose to ignore it, and if they do so, then they'll face the repercussions, whether that be here on earth or when they face God later on. But they face that. But I've had parents who didn't have that spiritual guidance, but can still relate in a way of saying, "Yeah, Keisha, you're right. That doesn't. I shouldn't do that." And it's sometimes in gathering later on, the spiritual end can guide them through to make them understand how to move forward. But I think my dad putting that force into me, it helped me on both ends.
On both ends,
exactly.
yeah. How did you meet and how did you find the one that would be your new earthly protector?
Ooh. My hubby.
Yes. What's up, bruh?
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, boo. um, that was we met in college. My shockingly, I met him online initially on because that back in 99
Was it
2000,
MySpace?
Yahoo.
Yahoo!
Yahoo.
Okay, you got mail.
Right.
Okay.
We had Yahoo back then, and there was a chat room. I don't know for everyone in the early 40s,
Yeah.
late 30s
Yeah.
probably know, but we had the chat room, and that was my senior year of high school. I'm in the chat room chatting it up, and everyone's like, "What college you going to, Keisha?" I'm like, "Oh, well, my dad's making me go to Albany State."
Yeah, right.
So when I did that, this guy posted or he made a post saying, "Yeah, I'll be going there with my brother and stuff." I was like, "Okay, well, I'll see you there."
Right.
So I met him our freshman year. We kind of met each other late freshman year, and I didn't initially like him at first. He was.
I hear that a lot. I hear like the good marriages. They be like, "Yeah, I wasn't really feeling them."
Well, it was more like, he was a football player, and he came freshman practice, and we're all in the cafeteria getting ready for lunch, and he waves at me like, "Hey, it's me," and I look at him. I'm like, you came straight from the field.
Yeah, you didn't shower fast because you know us, we dainty. What I tell you, we got poise, honey.
Right. So at first I was like, okay, I don't know, but hey. But then he kind of cleaned up after that semester. After the football season was over, before we went home for the Christmas break, and he stopped me. He said, "Hey, since we're gonna be home, let's hang out." So I said, "Okay,"
Right.
So when he came and picked me up, that's when we got home. He cut the hair. He looked clean. I said, "Okay, you do look cute."
I know,
Okay.
and you gave him a chance.
I did.
That's sweet. Did that come from anywhere, or was it more like a I guess, or did it came from something you've
It was
always?
something I felt with him.
Okay.
Because he was, even though my husband, who people who meet him, he's quiet, he's reserved. But you kind of he kind of has that manliness about him to where I still liked him,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind, wanting to hang with him and
Right.
stuff. So, and that too, I mean, I don't necessarily, not all the time that I judge a book by its cover, but you do have to look clean. You can't just come from football practice.
You can't just have mud all over your shirt, honey. You mud on your shirt.
but when he came about and how he approached me, I said, okay, yeah,
you like it.
Yeah. So ever since then, my dad, and this part is what geared me to know that I wanted this man to be with me, was because when he first met my father, that same, we decided to start dating, and he became my boyfriend. Yeah. So my dad found out I had a boyfriend. He's like, "Well, who is this guy?"
you beat me to it, because I was about to ask. Now, how did Daddy receive that?
That was the thing. We came home for another break. I think this was probably like a Memorial Day break or something. And my dad, I walked and brought him in, and my dad usually, and I saw the difference in. I mean, I've dated beforehand. I saw a difference in my dad's expression.
Right.
Normally, if I brought a guy in and say, "Hey, Dad, this is such and such," and my dad would kind of flex up and look all mad and stern and poke his chest muscles out.
And do all this extra.
Right, do all this extra. Yeah. I'm in the kitchen and I'm walking. I'm over here like biting my nails, like, oh gosh. And I look at my dad, and he looked up, because my husband's 6'4". Yeah. So he looked up at him, and my dad was 5'9", shockingly.
Yeah.
And he looked up at him. He was just like, "Hey, son, how you doing?" I was like, "Son."
Because Papa was in the spirit.
You don't know. I'm like, you don't know this man.
Don't play with Papa. He knew.
And he shook his hand, and he looked at him. He said, "Hey, nice to meet you. What's your name?" And my husband told him his name, and he said, "What's your major?" And my husband said, he's majoring in computer science. and that kind of geared my dad's eyes a little bit because my dad was a computer engineer. So that kind of geared him. And then he found out he played football. So that's another favorite for my father. And that's when my dad was like, oh, you're going to keep him. I'm like, this is odd. Normally,
how you going to tell me?
Right. I'm like, Dad, this is odd. Normally you're telling me I don't care. He always, shunned away anybody else. So I'm like, okay.
Right.
So even during the relationship standpoints, our ups and downs with my now husband, but back then my boyfriend, we break up, get back together, break up, but it was still in my head like,
gotta try to figure
I
something
think,
out with this guy.
It's something that it's sticking me to him.
Yeah.
And I think too, especially the fact of course, when my father passed away and my now husband, but back then he was, even still during our down times, he was still there.
Yeah.
To comfort me. Even if we weren't together, he was like, no, I'm going to take you to your dad. I'm going to be with you. All through this time.
He didn't want to leave you alone.
Right. And I saw that although I was going through the issues of losing my father, because, mentally you lose a parent, it can kind of have you resent a lot of things. And I kind of shunned people away during that time. I pushed a good number of people away, including my husband, my boyfriend at the time was him, but I even pushed him out because I just felt like the first love of my first male love that I ever had is gone. So I felt like I don't need anything. And so I pushed a lot of people out. I became reckless in a way mentally. And that's when, even still going through that, this man never left. Wow. He would still call. He would still check in. Even if he was in another relationship and I was in another, he was still calling.
Well, that's what you call agape love. It starts there.
Yes.
It starts there. Yeah. And that's why I was telling a friend of mine today. I said agape love is what we lack in the earth now. We looking for like immediate, like lustful love or romantic love. Right. We just skip over. We ask the name and then we trying to jump in the bed, and that's why it's not lasting. Right. And then of course, some people do try their best to get that love and wait, but then they're married to someone who isn't on the same wavelength. Right. And so now it tarnishes that other person who really was trying to do it right from the beginning. Exactly. And I told him, I said, if we can learn how to get back to, even with the mistakes and the whatever, like you said, the breakups and the get back, but we can learn to get back to agape love, then the one person that you love, just because they're not ready or just because they're going through something, don't punish them.
Right.
And see that and then love them through it.
Right. And I think with me breaking up with him when my dad passed, it broke his heart, because he wanted to marry me fresh out of college. He's like, let's get married after college. I'm like, no.
right. Like,
no, I'm not ready for
that. How we are.
Right.
I still want to go and gallivant.
Right, there you go.
Gallivant in the city.
That's why, I did the coming to America. It's like, I think we should, go home,
chill out,
our Royal Oaks a little bit, see what happens.
Right.
And I, with that, it still, even though it broke his heart, he still was there. And that's what I saw. I'm like, hey, you really want to be in, be with me. So
it makes it easier too.
Exactly. It
makes it easier.
It made it easy, and of course, then I turn around, I'm dating and all these
nonsense jokers.
The ones that I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that's what it was, kind of like that waking moment, like, Keisha, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
I'm like,
right.
And I'm sitting in the bed, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? And then it got to the point where, yes, I need to get
Go ahead
right.
and call him. Did you call him?
I did. I called him, and shockingly, he was in a relationship at the time. And, I understood it. I respected it. But, too, what linked us back together was a mutual friend of ours. His best friend and my best friend got married.
Okay.
And with that, we both were in a wedding. And
You
even
know,
though we weren't together,
them sparks will fly though when it's real.
Right. We weren't together at the time, but it was kind of like it hits you when you see each other. And he was like, "Oh, when we leaving the wedding, he's like, oh, me and you need to talk." I was like, "Okay."
Uh-huh.
So ever since then, that was 2007, 2008. We've been inseparable.
Wow. I love it.
Since.
And that was the time that I left Atlanta a second time.
Mm.
I left in 2008. And yeah, so it's interesting. Every time I left, something happened. Jesus, Lord. But I'm here to stay now, I think.
Yes, she is.
Right. I don't know what be happening. Stuff just be taken off. But yeah, I've been here since about 2013, like I said, when we reconnected. And I just love that in this season, like after all you've gone through, after all you've been through, God leading you to your husband and your husband being led to you. With all of that, when you had your daughter, were there things that you innately knew, like, oh yes, everything that made me who I am today, along with my husband being he being a father himself, I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure she has those similar foundations?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my one thing, and I know where this is, my father used to say, my mother always told me, don't lay with somebody, don't establish something like a family with someone that you don't see yourself, you don't see the things that you want in that person to build that family with. So like kind of like don't have a baby with someone that doesn't have the foundations of a good father, a good someone that you or that line. Like my father is my he was my pedestal, he was my model on a pedal per se, and on a pedestal, and that was how I geared towards what I look for in a man.
Right.
And my looking at my husband, I saw that, there are things he had that my father had. Number one, he's a hard worker.
Right.
He instilled, my husband works hard. He's a family guy.
Yeah.
He wanted a family.
Right. I love it.
He's big. He's and two. I know sometimes you can't. You may find someone who didn't have or who didn't grow up with both their parents and might have lacked somebody or mother or father in that aspect. But I was lucky enough to marry someone who grew up who had both his parents. So he also had the foundation of
very similar to what you had.
Right. The foundation of the provider, the father, the mother, the caring and nurturing mother like I did and stuff. So utilizing knowing that, and he had the spiritual end. He grew up in the church too. His mom was an evangelist. So he had the spiritual. He's not afraid to break down and pray.
Come on.
So those things that I looked into him, and although we're all human, we have faults, but he had those qualities, and knowing that if I lay with him and have a child with him, he's going to love and care for our child the same way my father loved and cared for me. Yes. And so, I mean, a lot of people, I know a lot of guys they will always say, well, I'm not your dad, so you can't compare me to him.
Or put that.
And it's not necessarily comparing, but you got to understand that a woman who has a father, who grew up with a good father, that's the first love of a woman. And so you have a lot to match up for. You got some competition.
You either got to be equal or above, right? But you ain't gonna be below. Exactly. What I look like trying to dig into the foundation. Exactly. This is it, and then we going up. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it's not necessarily like, well, she wants me to be her dad. It's not that. It's more of
exemplars.
What can you do to match that? Because this is her example all her life. And you can't break an example. Just like a man probably wants a woman that could cook like his mother.
Right. And anything below, he gonna give you a look every
or a
time.
woman that, you know, at least
Right.
can do something like or that nurturing feeling like his mother.
Right.
He wants a woman that's embedded with that too. But we're not saying, yeah, well, we're not your mama.
Yeah, or equal too.
Exactly.
It's just that, do you have suitable qualities?
Exactly.
And I love that word. A friend of mine, you know, talked about people forgetting that in the word, the word suitable is what, you know, they talked about when finding a mate. It's not that they're perfect or they are the only thing.
Right.
It's what is suitable.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be many people you're going to meet all through your life. So that would give you the truth of the point to say that there isn't really a one person for you. There is a suitable person for you that you can choose to be with that will help you through your life. You know, and if you miss out on that person, maybe you might get better or maybe you might get less, but that was the best suited for you. Right. You just was too stupid to see it. And so, I mean, you know, but I think that all the qualities that, you know, your father taught you, mother as well, you know, I think that also comes from, again, we talked about it earlier, that strong spiritual foundation. And I think that even deeper than all of what we've talked about today is what you said when you were like, if not for the natural conscience that you had, along with the upbringing, life could have went very differently if you chose to ignore it. But you always listen to that voice. Like, and I saw it, like I said, that moment in my life where I didn't feel like I could ask anybody for anything. But I just said, let me see, you know, if it was going to be okay. And it was so much more than okay. I was just like, wow, you know, I aspire to be able to give back to my friend in the future, you know. And I'm not there yet, trust. But once I get there, you're gonna be so shocked.
One thing I did, you know, that was instilled in me growing up too, is don't give or do for people and for receipt.
Yeah.
Okay. You do what's in your heart. And I always tell people, no matter what I do, it's all from the heart. And my husband's the same way. We don't do for others, and even if we do it, that's why I hate when people say, "I'll pay you back." I'm like, no, don't, because I wasn't doing it for that reason.
For that reason,
I was doing
just
it because out of love, and you know, I want you to have. Yeah. So yeah, don't worry about it.
I know, and people do say that, and they've said it to me, and I think that, you know, so long as the heart isn't expecting and the person just genuinely sees you just as you saw them, then it's a beautiful exchange. Yeah, it's a beautiful. Yeah. And my love language is time well spent. So in the years in my life where I didn't understand gift giving, it wasn't because I didn't want to give. It was because mainly I couldn't. All I could give you was my time, you know? Yeah. So I'm just like grateful.
Just laughter, time, laughter, and conversations, and just being embodied with, you know, with each other and
in this
talking.
Present moment. Yeah. Because time is really very precious. It is expensive. And so first of all, thank you. Or should I say last of all? Because I've been saying first of all for the last hour. So last of all, thank you. And for spending time with me, because I know this is your break holiday time and you're going back to work soon. But before you leave, we're going to play a game. Okay. Just 3 questions. Look, some people don't like games. They be like, no, I don't know what that means. Right. And I'm going to ask you, how was Family Day / Thanksgiving? Because I really like saying Thanksgiving, but how was Family Day yesterday?
It was really good in a way. You know, we just lost my aunt. So we buried we buried her on last Saturday. And so just being without her, it was kind of like, oh, okay,
and I remember her too.
Yeah, it's like, how are we gonna get through this? But the family came through. My other aunt, my cousin, my brother, everybody came through. We
Your
ate.
house?
My mom's
Okay,
house.
mama's
So
house.
we ate together.
Not the same place, obviously.
No, we ended up
Okay.
moving down the
Okay.
street to Hidden Hills.
Right. Okay.
So
Hidden Hills.
we
I
went
remember.
back and we were over there, and it was kind of like old times again. We were all hanging out, so it was something we needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
very comforting.
yeah, and I got you gotta put me on the map next year. We gotta have us a reunion. I'll be like, Mama, what's good? She gonna be like, oh Lord, child, finna be laughing our food all out our mouths and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But I gotta come back, and I can't wait to be around Brittany, your brother.
Yeah.
How you pronounce his name again?
Ira.
Yeah, Ira. Because I used to say Ira. I remember that. It used to be like Ira. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ira.
And your cousins. Yeah, I just remember everybody. I have some crazy pictures. I gotta find those pictures and send them to you. But this is my sister. She's a queen in her own right. Don't act like you don't know how to treat your kids. She's gonna show up at your front door. Okay. Looking fly too. How can I see your child? I don't want to talk to you. I'm here for your child. Right. But, would you say that you've enjoyed your career through this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm no longer in the business of knocking on doors.
Okay.
But I'm still in the social service field.
Okay.
But I could say being over, I want to say about 15 years now of doing this. It's very much it's kind of like that comforting feeling of knowing that I'm helping others.
Yeah.
And so even though I might not be on the front line, I'm supervising those people, but it's more
okay. So you're now more
managing.
Yeah, managing.
And it's still comforting because we still have to assess. I think it's more so as long as I'm doing something that can help others.
Okay.
I'm in the area I need to be.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. Either or. So
okay.
You're either gonna do this or you're gonna do that. Okay. Concert or jazz club?
Ooh.
Like live jazz club or concert?
Because I am a fan of music, I would say a concert.
Okay, concert. Me knowing your personality from back in the day to now, do you still like crowds and getting out there and doing stuff like that, or would you rather? And I know you gave me your answer, but I just feel like you were supposed to choose jazz club. I just knew it. I knew she was gonna choose jazz club.
No,
and she said
I
concert.
do like jazz clubs too, but I guess it depends on the artist.
Yeah,
I'm not into. I definitely won't do well, my husband would get me. I would go to an Outkast concert, but outside of that, I wouldn't go to any other rap concert. I'm more of an R&B if it's either, even if it's a jazz concert. But I just like, if it's something I like to hear, I want to see it live. But I do like jazz. I mean, I will definitely do a jazz club too.
Yeah.
But so if you're asking me about crowds, I would rather go to something more intimate.
Yeah.
Like a jazz live.
Like a jazz lounge. So if you had no choice, then you would pick a concert. I mean, not if you have no choice. If you could only pick one, you would pick a concert.
And it's kind of like a flip of the coin, depending on who's playing.
So it just depends.
Yeah, like I won't go to everyone's concert now.
There you go. Yeah. I'll be like, you said what? Goody who? Yeah, no.
Oh, because of my husband, I had to do a Goody Mob and Outkast. But
I love
outside
Outkast.
of them,
I
probably rather go to a jazz R&B type.
Yeah, vibe. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, this next one. Would you rather go to a winery or a farm?
Winery. That's easy.
Some people might be like, well, today I'm a farm girl.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I need to smell some pigs.
No, good on that. I would do a winery any day.
I need to see how to
Twice
get up on a
Sunday.
donkey. Twice on Sunday. We weren't saying that. We still gonna go to church. Okay.
Oh yeah, after
We
church.
still, yeah. Hallelujah. Just a little,
After
because he
church.
turned the water
into wine.
into wine.
Yeah.
Amen.
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 Thank you, Liz.
Yes.
Wine on Sunday.
Yeah. All right. So look, we sit here laughing about all this stuff, okay? But okay, and the last question, was that the second question? Yes, that was. The last question is rock climbing, not like real rock climbing, but the indoor rock climbing,
Okay.
or something like one of those adult like trampoline houses, like on a date, for a date, because that's hard.
Both of them can hurt you if you're not careful.
Look at her, she been all protected. Is that gonna injure your elbow or your kneecap? I need to know.
But if I had to choose my injury, it would probably come from a jump house.
If I had to choose my injury, since you ain't gonna pick a safe spot, no safe, you ain't gonna pick it. Lady B, what's good?
I would do the jump house if I had to choose.
Because there's some bounciness and there's some cushion going on in there.
Fun in there, but yeah,
okay.
I don't know, and I don't know how to climb like no wall or nothing. So I'm gonna have to go with what I know.
You want me to climb this one?
Right.
I mean, I see the little protruding things, but you want me to hold it too?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'll do the jump house.
Yeah. I mean, and for a date too, I think that's a little cuter. You don't want to accidentally, I mean, because they do strap you to those.
And I'm afraid of heights too.
Yeah, so
I'm tall, but I'm afraid of heights.
I used to get on, I just remembered that. Quick memory. I used to get on her like, how you afraid of these steps?
Because I'm
but
higher
you
than
on
most.
Heels.
I'm already looking higher than most, so it's already.
So now you already like, I'm high enough.
High.
And now you want me to be higher?
Right.
I'm like, can you get off the heels? It's already 6 inch right here. I love you, sis. I love you, man. Oh, God. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is My Father Used to Say, and I'm telling you right now, I want you to subscribe if you haven't. Stop playing around with us. Subscribe. We are trying to move and groove and grow. And in the next few months, we hope that if you have your own businesses and you want us to partner with you and you want to be a patron and subscribe and just kind of have like maybe a monthly subscription to us, we can, during commercials, talk about your business. So if you can partner with us and be a patron, we will greatly and truly appreciate it. My name is Lady Bose. Y'all say bye to Keisha, because look, you will be seeing her. But if you're trying to follow her and just kind of catch up with her life a little bit more, is there any social media that you share that you'd like to put out there, or are you more private?
I'm kind of private.
Okay.
But, I am starting my own business, so when we come back, I will get that out to you all.
I love that, though. You see how she set it up? So don't act like you don't know when you see her again, okay? Because we're going to be talking about your business and some of your other things. I want to talk about your daughter a little more, too. Oh, yeah. So there's so many things I did not have time to ask. But, again, this is what it's all about here. My father used to say testimonials that will, encourage others with a perspective of how their foundational upbringing helped their successes today. So thank you for being on the show. I know I've been saying thank you, but it really, truly is an honor to interview you. Yes, I love you. And have a good day. You guys, I'll see you next time on My Father Used to Say. Bye, guys.